I've been insulted before, ignored, underrated, even disrespected. But nothing compares to being thrown out of your own hotel. And the worst part? The people who did it were my own family. My name is Ethan Miller. I'm 41 years old. And 3 days ago, my family kicked me out of a hotel chain I secretly owned. Let me explain. 7 years ago, I walked away from my family business. Not because I failed, but because I refused to become like them. The Miller family owns one of the fastest-growing hotel brands in the country. Luxury, prestige, reputation. But behind that polished image, control, ego, power games. My father ran everything with an iron grip. My older brother followed him blindly. And me? I was the one who questioned things. Bad idea. You're too soft for this business, my father once told me. You don't understand how power works. Maybe he was right, because I didn't want power. I wanted respect. And in that family, you don't get respect unless you play their game. So I left. No dramatic exit. No big fight. Just a quiet decision. I walked away with nothing but a small amount of savings and a promise to myself. I would build something on my own. And I did, but not in the way they expected. For the next 7 years, I worked in silence. No social media, no announcements, no connection to the Miller name. I built partnerships quietly, invested smartly, and most importantly, I learned how the system really worked. Not the version my father taught me, the real version. The one where control isn't loud, it's hidden. And over time, I started buying shares. Small at first, unnoticeable, then bigger, strategic, through shell companies, private investments, silent partnerships. No one knew, not my father, not my brother, no one. Until one day, I owned more than 60% of the entire chain. Legally, completely, but I didn't announce it. Because I wasn't ready. I was waiting for the right moment. And that moment came in the most unexpected way. 3 days ago, I walked into one of our flagship hotels. Not as Ethan Miller, the son of the founder, but as just another guest. Simple clothes, no suit, no status. I wanted to see how things really worked, without my name, without influence. And what I saw was worse than I expected. Staff being rude to guests, managers cutting corners, policies ignored. This wasn't the brand I built. This was the same toxic culture I walked away from. And it made one thing clear. My family hadn't changed. At all. I was standing at the front desk when everything started. I've been waiting for 20 minutes, I said calmly. The receptionist barely looked at me. Sir, you need to wait your turn. There's no line, I replied. She rolled her eyes. Then wait quietly. I smiled slightly. Interesting. Very interesting. That's when a familiar voice cut through the lobby. What's going on here? I turned, and there he was. My older brother. Same expensive suit. Same arrogant expression. 7 years later, nothing had changed. He looked at me for a second. Didn't recognize me. Of course he didn't. To him, I had been gone too long. He's causing a scene, the receptionist said. I raised an eyebrow. A scene? I repeated. My brother stepped closer. Sir, if you have a complaint, you can leave, he said coldly. I looked at him. Really looked at him. And for a moment, I almost said it, almost told him who I was. But I didn't. Not yet. I just want a room, I said. You're not getting one, he replied. Silence. The lobby got quieter. People watching now. This is a private property, he continued. And we reserve the right to refuse service. I nodded slowly. Do you know who you're talking to? I asked. He smirked. Someone who's about to leave, he said. Then he gestured towards security. Escort him out. And just like that, my own brother had me thrown out of my own hotel. I didn't resist, didn't argue. I just walked out, calm, because in that moment, I realized something. They still thought they were in control. They still believed this was their empire. But they had no idea. Everything had already changed. I stood outside the hotel, looking up at the building. At the name, Miller Grand Hotel, a name they were so proud of, a name they thought they owned. I took out my phone, opened one contact, and made the call. "Schedule a full board meeting," I said calmly. A pause. Then, "Yes, Mr. Miller." I looked back at the hotel one last time and smiled, because in less than 24 hours, they were about to find out the truth. And when they did, everything they built their power on would collapse. I didn't go home after that. I didn't need to, because something inside me had already shifted. For 7 years, I stayed quiet, watched from a distance, built everything in silence. But now, they had crossed a line, not because they disrespected me. I could have ignored that, but because they disrespected what I built, what I protected. And that, I couldn't let slide anymore. By the next morning, everything was in motion. Emails sent, calls made, legal teams notified, a full executive board meeting, mandatory attendance. My father, my brother, every major shareholder. No excuses, no delays. They had no idea why. And that was the best part. I arrived early, not at the front entrance, but through the private executive access, the one only top-level authority could use. The same entrance my father used for years. The same door he believed only he controlled. The security guard at the door looked at me, confused. "Sir, this area is restricted," he said. I didn't argue, didn't explain. I just pulled out a card. Black, minimal, clean. He scanned it, and immediately, his expression changed. "Welcome, Mr. Miller," he said, stepping aside. I walked in, calm, controlled, because this time, I wasn't walking in as a guest. I was walking in as the owner. The boardroom was already filling up. Voices, conversations, confusion. Why are we even here? This wasn't scheduled. Did something happen? I stayed outside for a moment, listening, because I knew none of them were ready, especially him. When I finally walked in, the room went quiet. Not completely, but enough. Some people recognized me, others didn't. 7 years is a long time. Faces change, memories fade, but not his. My father looked up, and the moment our eyes met, everything stopped. "Ethan?" he said. No warmth, no surprise, just confusion. My brother turned next, and his reaction, even worse. "You?" he said, like I didn't belong there, like I was out of place. I smiled slightly. "Good morning," I said. No one responded, because no one understood what was happening. Not yet. I walked to the end of the table, the main seat, the one my father always took, and I sat down. That's when the room shifted. "What do you think you're doing?" my brother snapped. I didn't answer immediately. I just placed a folder on the table, opened it slowly, then looked up. "Starting the meeting," I said calmly. My father leaned forward. "This isn't a joke, Ethan," he said. "I know," I replied. "Then get out of that seat." Silence. Every eye in the room. On me. Waiting. Watching. I folded my hands. "No," I said. That one word changed everything. My brother stood up instantly. "Security!" he shouted. I didn't move. Didn't even look at him. Because I knew something he didn't. No one was coming. The door stayed closed. The room stayed still. And slowly, confusion started turning into tension. "What is this?" my father asked. I leaned back slightly. "This," I said, "is the part where things change." He frowned. "Explain yourself." I nodded. Gladly. I turned the folder toward them. "Over the past 7 years," I began, "I've been acquiring shares of the Miller Hotel Group." Silence. At first, no reaction. Then, a few whispers. "What? That's not possible. Who approved that?" My brother laughed. You? He said. You bought shares? I met his eyes. Yes. How much? He asked, still smirking. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I slid the document across the table. My father picked it up, started reading, and for the first time in my life, I saw something I had never seen before. Fear. His hands tightened slightly. His eyes moved faster, then slower, then stopped. This isn't real, he said quietly. I didn't respond, because it was. My brother grabbed the paper from him, looked at it, and his expression changed instantly. No, he said. No, this is fake. It's verified, I replied calmly. The room went silent, completely silent. 62%, I said. The number echoed. Heavy, unavoidable. That means... Someone whispered. Yes, I said. I looked directly at my father. I own the company. The words landed like a shockwave. No one spoke. No one moved. Because in that moment, everything they believed collapsed. My brother shook his head. You think this changes anything? He snapped. I tilted my head slightly. It changes everything. He laughed again, but this time, it wasn't confident. You walked in here like you matter, he said. But yesterday, you were nothing. I leaned forward slightly. Yesterday, I said calmly. You had me thrown out of my own hotel. Silence. His face went still. What? My father said. I didn't look at him. I kept my eyes on my brother. You told security to remove me, I continued. In front of guests, staff, everyone. My brother didn't respond, because now he remembered. And for the first time, he understood. You didn't recognize me, I said. But that doesn't matter. I paused, then added, what matters is what happens next. The room felt heavier, tension rising, uncertainty growing. Because now, they weren't in control anymore. I was, and they knew it. But what they didn't know was how far I was willing to go, or what I was about to do next. And that was going to hurt them more than anything else. No one spoke for a long time. The room felt frozen. 62%. That number didn't just represent ownership. It represented control, power, authority. Everything my father built his identity on was no longer his, and he knew it. This is illegal, my brother finally said. His voice wasn't confident anymore. It was desperate. You manipulated the system, he added. There's no way you did this clean. I didn't react. Everything was done legally, I said calmly. Every share, every transfer, every signature. I tapped the document lightly. You can have your lawyers review it. Silence, because they already understood something important. If I was this calm, it meant I was prepared. My father slowly placed the paper back on the table. Then he looked at me, really looked at me. You planned this, he said. It wasn't a question. Yes, I replied. A long pause. For 7 years? He asked. Yes. The room shifted again. Because now, this wasn't just shocking. It was terrifying. Why? He asked quietly. That word carried everything. Confusion, anger, ego. I leaned back slightly. Because I wanted to build something better, I said. My brother scoffed. By stealing it? He said. I looked at him. I didn't steal anything, I replied. I bought what you didn't value. That hit hard. Because it was true. They were too busy controlling people to notice who was controlling the company. You think this makes you powerful? My brother said. I shook my head slightly. No, I replied. It makes me responsible. Silence. Then I added, and that's something neither of you ever understood. My father's expression hardened. Be careful, Ethan, he said. There it was. The warning. The same tone he used my entire life. The one that used to make me step back. But not anymore. I am being careful, I said calmly. And for the first time, He didn't interrupt me. I stood up slowly, walked around the table, every step deliberate, controlled, because this moment wasn't just about revealing the truth. It was about taking control of it. I stopped at the center of the room, then turned to face everyone. "Let's talk about yesterday," I said. A few people shifted uncomfortably because they knew. They had heard something, seen something. "I visited one of our flagship hotels," I continued. No one spoke. "I didn't use my name," I added. "I wanted to see how things actually worked." My eyes moved across the room. "Do you know what I saw?" "Silence. Disrespect," I said. "Neglect. Arrogance." My voice stayed calm, but every word landed. Staff treating guests like they didn't matter. Management ignoring basic standards. I paused. And leadership that thinks power means control instead of responsibility. That one was for them. My father didn't react. But my brother? He looked away, because deep down, he knew. I was denied service, I continued. Dismissed, and eventually, I looked straight at him, thrown out. Silence. Heavy. Unavoidable. "In front of guests," I added. "In front of your employees." My brother finally spoke. "I didn't know it was you," he said quickly. I nodded. "I know." A pause. "That's the problem." He frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means," I said, "you only respect people when you know who they are." That hit harder than anything, because it exposed everything. Their mindset, their system, their weakness. "That's not how a real business works," I continued. "And it's definitely not how my company will run." The word "my" echoed. Clear. Intentional. My father leaned forward slightly. "So what now?" he asked. That was the real question. What happens when the power shifts? I walked back to the table, closed the folder slowly, then said, "Now, we fix it." Silence. But not confusion this time. Tension. Because they knew. Fixing it meant change. And change meant losing control. "Effective immediately," I continued. "I'm restructuring leadership." My brother's head snapped up. "What?" I looked at him calmly. "You're removed as regional director," I said. The words hit instantly. "No," he said. "You can't do that." "I already did," I replied. He slammed his hand on the table. "This is insane." "No," I said. "This is accountability." His breathing got heavier. "You're doing this because of yesterday?" he said. I shook my head. "I'm doing this because of the last 7 years," I replied. Silence. Then I turned to my father. "And you?" I said. The room tensed again. "You're stepping down as chairman." That one shook everything. "No," he said immediately. But his voice? It wasn't strong anymore. It was defensive. "You don't get to walk in here and erase everything I built," he said. I held his gaze. "I'm not erasing it," I replied. I paused. "I'm saving it." Silence filled the room, because deep down, they knew the company wasn't what it used to be. It was declining, slowly, quietly, and if nothing changed, it would collapse. "I gave you both time," I said. "Years." I shook my head slightly, "But you never changed." No one argued, because they couldn't. Everything I said was true, and truth is hard to fight. I looked around the room one last time, then said, "This company is mine now." A pause. "And I'm going to run it the right way." No ego, no anger, just certainty. Because this wasn't revenge, it was responsibility. But what they didn't understand yet was that I wasn't done. Because losing power, that was just the beginning. What came next was going to hurt them even more. No one argued after that. Not because they agreed, but because they couldn't. Power doesn't need to shout. It just needs to be undeniable. And right now, mine was. The room slowly emptied, one by one. Executives, board members, advisors, each of them walking out with the same expression: shock, uncertainty, and something else: relief. Because deep down, they all knew something was wrong with this company. They just never had the power to fix it. Until now, my brother didn't leave. Of course he didn't. He stood there, staring at the table, hands clenched, jaw tight. "You think this is over?" he said. I didn't look at him immediately, because I knew that tone. It wasn't anger. It was pride, breaking, slowly. "This isn't about winning," I said calmly. He laughed bitterly. "Yeah? Then why does it feel like you just destroyed everything?" I finally looked at him. "Because what you built wasn't stable," I said. "That hit hard. You took everything from me," he said. I shook my head slightly. "No," I replied. "I took responsibility for something you were already losing." Silence. Then he said something I didn't expect. "You planned this from the beginning, didn't you?" I paused, then answered honestly. "No." He frowned. "I planned to build something better," I said. "What happened today was the result of your choices." That shut him up, because again, he knew. My father was the last to stand. Slow, controlled, but different, for the first time in my life. He looked older, not physically, but mentally, like something inside him had finally cracked. "You've made your point," he said. I didn't respond, because this wasn't about making a point. "You wanted control," he continued. "Now you have it." I stepped closer. "This was never about control," I said. He let out a quiet breath. "That's where you're wrong," he replied. "Everything is about control." I shook my head. "No," I said. "That's why you lost it." Silence. That one line carried years of truth, years of tension, years of things left unsaid. "You think you're different?" he asked. I didn't hesitate. "Yes." He studied me, long, carefully, then asked, "Prove it." That was the moment everything shifted again. Because power is easy to take, but proving you deserve it, that's the hard part. I turned back toward the table, picked up the folder, opened it again. "Effective, immediately," I said. "We're implementing new policies across all locations." They both stayed silent, listening now. "Customer treatment becomes priority number 1. Staff training will be completely restructured. No more shortcuts, no more arrogance." I looked at my brother, and no more leadership based on ego. His jaw tightened, but he didn't interrupt, because now he couldn't. Then I turned to my father. "And you won't be removed completely," I said. That caught him off guard. "What?" he asked. "You built this company," I continued. "That matters." A pause. "But you won't control it anymore." Silence. "I'm offering you an advisory role," I said. My brother looked shocked. My father didn't, because